So when I was growing up, there weren't a lot of healthy boundaries in my life. For example, if I kept a diary, it would get broken into and read. Uh, so I kind of grew up without a healthy sense of boundaries. And when I got into therapy, one of the first things that my therapist taught me about in 1998, she gave me a handout on boundaries. And I looked at them and go, ooh, wow, yeah, I could definitely do with some more boundaries in my life and respecting other people's boundaries. And so I've gotten in 12-step programs over the last 8 years, and I noticed that as people first get into recovery, they often start announcing their boundaries. They said, oh, this is a boundary. I don't do X, Y, Z. I don't go to this place. I don't allow this in my life. It's one of the symptoms of being early in recovery. But then as people develop their recovery, they don't need to announce their boundaries anymore. You'll notice by and large that successful, high achieving people aren't announcing their boundaries because they're just clear to them. They don't need to announce them. They put out a message, a vibration that they're not to be trifled with. They're not to be taken trivially. They're not to be messed with. They're not going to put out with being taken advantage of. They're not going to let you suck out their energy or waste their time or aggravate them. They're just very clear because they have a mission in life. And so they're on their mission and they're not going to allow stuff to distract them. And so they just don't need to announce boundaries. So most of the things that trouble us, I think, are more a symptom than a cause. They're a symptom of our lack of maturity, or depending on how you view it, lack of spirituality. Maturity is being able to handle difficult situations without lashing out at other people or oneself. That's probably the best measure of maturity. How much stress can you handle? How much aggravation can you handle? How much bad news can you handle? How much difficulty can you handle without lashing out at other people or yourself, right? And so I often hear, oh, I need to cut my brother out of my life, or I need to cut my sponsor out of my life, or I need to cut my old friends out of my life, or I've got too many dramatic people in my life. I need to cut them out of my life. And again, I think this is just looking at the symptom rather than the cause. Like as we grow in maturity, or as we grow spiritually, as we grow connected to God, depending on how you understand these things, but as we grow and are able to handle more adversity, more stress, more difficulties, more challenges, without lashing out at ourselves or others, then the people that we hang out with will naturally change. And we're not going to have to like dramatically cut people out of our lives. I can't handle Joe. He's gone from my life. But we tend to spend our time around people at the same maturity level as ourselves. Tend to spend time around people at the same spiritual level or same level of connection to God, or same level of psychological health or differentiation as ourselves. Differentiation is the ability to hold on to oneself while staying in relationship with others. So as other people become more and more important to you, simultaneously you'll feel more and more of an incentive or a pull to sell yourself out to maintain those relationships. So I got Brundlefly in the chat right now, right? My buddy Brundlefly. So as Brundlefly becomes more important to me, then I have more and more incentive to say sell myself out at times to say accommodate something that he's all about, but say may go against what I stand for. So differentiation is the ability for me to hold on to myself, hold on to what I value, while staying in relationship with Brundlefly. And so it's the same way with everyone in your life as they become more and more important to you, particularly such as a spouse or a lover, a partner, then the more and more incentive you have to sell yourself out, to start compromising on what you really stand for so that you can get along with the people who are really important to you. And so differentiation is that ability to stand on your own 2 feet while staying in relationship with the people who are important to you. And so as we grow in differentiation, people don't tend to grow in differentiation. It's very, very painful. People tend to stay at the same level of differentiation over generations, right? People tend to be at the same level of differentiation as their parents or their siblings and their spouse, right? You never marry someone who is more or less mature than you. Okay, it's always about the same level of maturity, the same level of differentiation. Because if someone was dramatically more differentiated than you, they would never marry you. They would never spend that much time with you because it'd be unbearable to be around someone who was so immature. And if you're around someone who was dramatically less differentiated, less mature than you, you would find them absolutely unbearable too. It wouldn't happen. So anyone that we partner up with romantically, anyone we marry, our siblings, our parents, we're all tend to be at about the same level of emotional health and maturity and differentiation. And it is possible to grow in differentiation, meaning the ability to soothe oneself while trying to maintain relationships and develop and deepen relationships with people important to you. But as we grow in differentiation, then we don't need to cut people out of our lives by and large. It just naturally happens because the type of people that we hang out with just naturally change, right? If you're, let's just put it crudely, if you're at a 5 on a 1 to 10 of differentiation and you move to a 6, then the crowd of people that you're going to hang out with is going to change too. Just as if you are making $50,000 a year, okay, most of your friends are going to be 6-figure earners. The people that you spend time with, by and large, are not going to be 6-figure earners if you're just earning $50,000 a year. If you start earning $200,000 a year, then the people you hang out with will change from when you're earning $50,000 a year. Not completely, not 100%, but generally speaking, you move into a different crowd. And it's the same thing with maturity, with differentiation, with income, with success level. As you become more and more successful in your field, then the type of people that you hang out with in your private life are going to change, right? You're not going to feel comfortable hanging out with losers, people with unnecessary drama, people with self-destructive habits, people who are like chronic underowners, or people who are debtors, people who are into, oh, I've got to rescue someone, rescue or be rescued. Just like married people, married men who hang out with married men who are faithful to their wives are much more likely to stay faithful. Married men who hang out with men who screw around on their wives are much more likely to screw around. Divorce, for example, highly contagious. If the people you're hanging out with are getting divorced, then you are much more likely to get divorced. So we often think, the solution to my problems is outside of me. I need to cut ties with X, Y, Z. I need to start announcing my boundaries. I need to, let my mother know that she can't speak to me that way anymore. I need to let my brother know that he can't keep borrowing my car. These are all external solutions to an internal problem, and there are no external solutions to an internal problem. There are no physical solutions to a spiritual problem. And making like these dramatic announcements, dramatically announcing your boundaries and dramatically cutting ties with people who are holding you back, generally speaking, that is reaching out for an external solution to an internal problem. So you only have dramatic people in your life if there's a large part of you that needs to be around pointless drama. All right? The people who are in your life are a reflection of you. Okay, differentiation tends to be static. People do not tend to change in their level of differentiation. And the best book on this topic of which I am aware is Passionate Marriage by David Schnarch, Schnarch, Passionate Marriage. People do not tend to change. Differentiation tends to stay at the same level over generations. Generations. Tends to be the same among siblings, tends to be the same from parents to children, does not tend to change over generations. But there are the few, the hard, the proud, who are able to grow in differentiation, who are able to do this very difficult work and to improve. And it's the people who watch Luke 4. There are ways of growing in differentiation, such as working a 12-step program or work with a good therapist. Not most therapists. Okay, most therapists won't improve your lives dramatically, but there are a few things that are very difficult, very challenging, and that very difficult, challenging work is the only way. Yeah, announcing boundaries here is like a beginner's move. Okay, that's what announcing boundaries is. That is, I know I need to change, all right? As you actually change, you're not going to need to announce the boundaries anymore. When you see that you need to change, then you'll start announcing boundaries. But as soon as you actually start changing, you're going to have less need to announce boundaries because they will just become blindingly, obviously clear to yourself, to everyone else. You won't be struggling with things. You won't put up with crap. For example, I take a lot of outreach calls in my various 12-step programs, and I don't allow anyone to talk to me about the problem for more than 2 minutes. Generally speaking, I'm not going to let people whine to me about their problems finding a job or getting a new computer or fixing their car or their boss is an a-hole. I don't allow that in my life. All right? So after 2 minutes, I'm going to switch the conversation. Okay, what's the solution? The solution's working the 12 steps, working the tools of the program, like where are you in your step work? Okay, that's the kind of conversations that I'm going to have. All right, we're going to talk about the solution. We're not going to talk about the problem. So I don't need to announce these boundaries. I just need to get clear about them. There's no connection between being a teetotaler and being differentiated. Okay, there's absolutely no connection between those two states. You can be sober and have a low level of differentiation. You can be a drinker and have a low level of differentiation or a high level of differentiation. There's no connection between sobriety and differentiation. So yeah, announcing boundaries isn't really an announcement to yourself that you need to change. I think that's the most healthy way of looking at it. But as you actually begin to change, you don't need to announce boundaries anymore. It will just be blindingly obviously to you and to other people, just as I don't allow people making an outreach call to just whine about their problems for more than 2 minutes. After that, we have to start talking about the solution. Okay.